Hey y'all, well here we are, April 1st, starting the second quarter of the year. It's flying by. I'm back here in the back coop checking out old Tiny, even though he ain't tiny. And a couple of his ladies and the birds we hatched out in the house. Everybody seems to be doing good. I had to come correct a situation in the feed trough over there. It got a little wet and we was having corn mash and I didn't want no drunk chickens. So decided to go ahead and empty that out and put some fresh dry stuff in there. But we're roaring into April already, aren't we? A little cloudy today. Been a productive day. Started off real early, to be honest with you. Got a lot on my plate to get done, but we knocked right through it, such as it is. Come out to gather a few eggs. I grabbed a few this morning for a neighbor, and I didn't expect to see any this evening, and that looks to be the case. They hadn't went into full-blown production yet, but they're getting there. About six a day. That's not bad for 8 of them, is it? No, I guess not. Well, maybe Sissy and the rest of the puppies will behave this evening. Now, I had to get up early. I was perplexed on that mower, as I said. But after I got settled a little bit, cleared my head, figured out kind of what the problem was. And that's sometimes the biggest issue, isn't it, is identifying the problem. Well, I did that, and so got the pieces off of it that I need, and now we're on to the repair phase. So we'll get that done pretty quick. But if y'all are checking in, I love to hear from you on where you're at, where you're listening from. It's always cool to see. I was going to share something I learned from these old goats this morning. Old silly things. This is their feed room. Sometime in the night, and this will be a rehash for some of the subscribers. We talked about it this morning on the morning check-in on that feed. But this is an old feed room. Ain't much to it. It keeps things dry. I had a whole bale of hay over there. I was rationing out to these things. Now, for some reason, those goats, once it hits the floor like that, they're done with it. They won't mess with it as far as eating. Well, I guess unless they get hungry enough. But I opened the door and somebody busted through that other door. And thank goodness they didn't get into the feed bucket, so that wasn't wasted. But I made a mess of the hay. So I have to do something with that because that's going to be a snake pit. I'm not careful. Draw rats and you know what that brings. But I was going to feed them. And normally what I do is, of course, they've got access to this other door there for the babies to come in and out. But they act like they're starving to death. They've got full grazing capabilities, and they get pellets a couple of times a day. And what I have to do, and it's an everyday thing, is I'll throw a handful of feed in a little pan inside the corral here. And that bucket was the target this morning. And then just so they don't rush into the feed trough, and then get their ration and going around here to the main trough. And you see they're following me now, or probably, and put it out here where they can have full access to it. Well, they're normally pretty slick, but I kind of reminded me of me sometimes, and some of us. I guess they forgot to trust me as their provider and know that I'm going to follow through with a pretty good bit of feed for them to munch on and get full. Notice they're not hollering. Means they're full. So about 5 of them, well, however many I got, all but one, fought over a handful of food for about 5-10 minutes inside this barn when I had a full trough of feed out there. Well, I've got one doe goat she just goes along to get along, and she lets them battle and normally just picks up the scraps. Well, she remembered about the provider, and she knew I was coming out here. So her name's Marshmallow. She's one of the older does. So she had her run for all of that time while you got 4 or 5 goats in there scrambling over 4 or 5 pellets. She was out here just having her fill because she remembered to trust, right? She knew the habit. Them other ones forgot. So you can take that like you want it. But that was some stinking thinking from the goats that have stopped battling over the morsels and remembered that there'll be provisions. You just got to go to the trough, right? But that tickled me. My buddy up the road, good neighbor, Boy, it's good to have good neighbors, I'll tell you. Of course, you know, we got the bridge repaired with my buddy across the street, keeping him in eggs. But my farmer buddy up the road, I call him Brother. I've got to get his real name. I've called him Brother for years. That's what he goes by. He speaks pretty good English, and I speak, I guess, decent Spanish. But it's always funny to hear us go back and forth. I'm trying Spanish, he's trying English, and somehow we connect in the middle. But we get communicated. But he came up and broke ground for me one more time with his tractor. As you can see, we're ready to put in corn and peas. My old pecan trees got full buds, so that was what I was waiting on. So I'm not worried about any frost. I could have planted a little bit ago, but decided to wait. But we'll get it done. I got my 2 rows of pintos in this evening. They'll be down about 140, 150 foot each, so 300 foot of that. And then we got as many potatoes. Now begins the process of pulling all those tomato plants. I said I want to quit watering them. Now I got to figure out time to put 100 of them or so in the ground, right? But I'm going to start moving them out of the house into the backyard, letting them harden off a little bit before we put them out here in the dirt. But we'll be planting peas and corn this week. If the good Lord willing, that's what my plans are. And talking, I said he's a good neighbor. Of course, he'll do anything for me. I ask him, and I try not to ask for much. And that's who I sent the eggs home with this morning. Of course, diesel ain't cheap, so I pay him a little bit to come up here and work. He most times don't want to take it, but nothing's free anymore, is it? But he saw me working on my old mower. And he's about my age, but he's just wise and quiet, right? Remember what we said about being quiet is the wise ones. Well, he was tilling that up over there, and he stopped, and because I was frustrated, you know, and trying to figure it out and looking at it crazy. And he got off his tractor to come over and want to know what was wrong, and I was showing him. He said, "What you need to do is stop and clear your head and walk away. Just no rush, no rush." I said, "Man, you don't know what I got to do today." No rush. But he looked at the pasture, and actually it looks better than it has in times past. But he said, "No worries, you'll figure it out." He said, "Tomorrow I'm coming with the bush hog, and I'm going to mow all of the pasture so that you've got some time to get it right and get it running." And I don't need but a couple of days and getting the parts shipped in, but just voluntarily. That's what it's about, isn't it? That made me smile. So what little bit of crazy weeds I got growing, well, they'll get knocked down in the morning. So that's all right, isn't it? But that's going to be my mission. I'm going to find out his name. I don't know why I never have. Of course, it don't matter. We're good friends. He knows mine. I call him Brother, and I guess that's pretty good, isn't it? Brother's almost better than having a name, ain't it? The way I see it. I saw the fam over the weekend. I was kind of curious. Of course, my dad and I, my sister, all of us were readers growing up. In fact, I have fond memories of adolescent years, and Dad would buy a new Hardy Boys book, or Mom would find one in the garage sale that we hadn't read, and he got first dibs on it, and it probably took him a sitting, and then he'd be done with it, and it'd pass around to Kim and I, and we just loved to read. But they were talking about a book, Kimberly and him, and I'm like, "What are y'all talking about?" I mean, this was staple reading for us, and I guess Dad had never heard of it, and that really blew my mind. But he said he'd finished it, or about to finish, Where the Red Fern Grows. Y'all remember that book? I think they made a little movie out of it. But man, I was like, "Dad, you missed out all these years on that book? My goodness." So I guess we got the first read on that one, and here it is years later. He's catching up to it. But always loved to read. And I'd heard one, y'all. This is the best I've heard in a minute. It was a Saturday, summertime. Kids were out of school. Big old thunderstorm had rolled in and sent all the kids inside to play or keep themselves busy. And Dad was in his easy chair, getting a reprieve from all of his honeydews outside. And his only boy was in his room reading, as he did, because he was an avid reader. Old Dad sitting there watching reruns of Gunsmoke, some old westerns, and directly he heard out of the hallway down there where the kid's bedroom was, he said, "You're gonna get it." world was going on? Well, he knew his son didn't have a gaming system, didn't care nothing about it, was just a reader. He said, didn't remember any buddies of his coming in, going in there. Pretty sure he's by himself. So he shook it off and kept watching his TV. And sure enough, about 5 another minutes, happened again. You're gonna get it. Well, now his curiosity's piqued. He's like, what is going on with my son back there? Well, he shook it off again, and it was continued for a good hour. About every 5-10 minutes, he finally had all he could take. So he walked down the hallway, knocked on the kid's door. He said, son, are you all right? What's going on in there? He opened the door, and there the kid lay reading a book. He said, what are you hollering about? He said, Dad, I started this book, in the first 2 chapters, every time the bad guys were beating the good guys. And the good guys never win, and I don't like that. And I was going to give up on it, so I decided I was going to read the last chapter of the book to see what happened after all. And you know what, Dad? The good guys ended up winning. So now I'm going to read the whole book to see how they got whooped. And every time that they try to beat up on the good guy, I let them know, you're going to get it. He had read the back of the book, and he knew how it ended. So all the troubles and trials that the good fellows went through at the hands of the evil guys, he knew at the end of the day, they was going to get it. Isn't that cute, boy? It tickled me. That's good stuff. I think even Sissy would like that story, huh? That's right. Well, them 2 little baby goats that I'm nursing in the house, they were up here in the melee this morning. I let them out in the morning to learn how to beat a goat. Actually, they were the ones in the feed trough with Marshmallow and having their fill while the other goofballs were in there trying to get one more pellet. And there was 100,000 of them out in the trough. Well, maybe not 100,000, but there's more than one. But I've noticed through the day, and I guess it's just their cycle in the evening, they come over here and they wait on me to take them in. I guess they know that milks are coming, but they were nibbling on the pellets. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm already noticing some difference in the little one's bow leggedness just by going with that whole milk for the last couple of days. Maybe it's just my mind, or maybe they're growing out of it, but I think they're getting a little bit better nutrition. So I appreciate the tip from my goat buddy, wearing his company's hat here. But, I was going to mention, I did this a few years back. Well, when I first got here, learned about it and tried it, and I actually did it out in the pasture, but I'm going to do it in a practical sense. For those of you that long to have a garden, maybe live in town, maybe your lot's no bigger than a bedroom, but if you got a little patch of ground out back and want to have a few tomatoes, maybe a couple of pepper plants, I've got a solution for you. It doesn't require you tilling anything up, digging anything up, buying any totes from Lowe's or Dollar General, or making buckets or containers or anything. I think it'd probably cost you less than $50 by the time you get the plant cost involved. And by the end of the season, you'll never know it was there. And you don't ever have to lift a shovel to get it done. Just a little fertilizer and water and a media to do it. But I've got plenty of room. I ain't hurting for that, but next week I'm going to start that little series on the subscriber feed. Now, publicly I'll share the progress of it, but the setup is the most important in making it work. So if you've got about I don't think you'd need a 3x6 piece of area, maybe toward the back of the lawn in town, and want to just grow a few fresh tomatoes to munch on, then you might consider that. If not able to subscribe, I'll share it with you anyway privately. You can just let me know. But it was really cool that year that I did that, and didn't have to have it because I've got plenty of room and I'll have tons of tomatoes. But it was interesting to see that process. So there is hope for those suburbanites that don't have acreage to put a garden in, or really just the time to have to till and weed and all that. It was super simple and produced really, really good results. So that's something you might want to check into on the subscriber feed, and we'll start that probably. I got to get a couple of supplies for it, but I could do it without them, but I'm going to do it like you'll have to do it. It'll involve a feed store and some seeds and a little water. And then you'll be munching tomatoes for too long, maybe even a few peppers. But anyway, wanted to check in first of the month. Just doing my evening walk around. I got all my chores done, or most of them. We still got to feed the babies and get situated in there. There's little Waylon. He's getting big. Let me turn it around here. He's having a big time out here with Sissy. See the brown coming on him from that German Shepherd. I didn't know I needed another little blessing on the place, but I guess I did. Yes, Sissy, I'm talking. She said, wait a minute. You giving out pets? Well, I'm coming over there to get mine. Hey, buddy. That one's digging up my garden a little bit. He'll ease up on it a little bit probably before it's over with. Let me ease up with the old well, and we'll do a quick roll call, and then I'm going to finish my rat killing, as the old timers used to say. It seems like I got more rats than I can get killed someday. But that's all right, too. So, well, let me show y'all this old pecan tree. This is my almanac for safety to plant. Just starting out. Look at there. Yep. Poor old tree's a native, I think, but they ain't produced a pecan to eat, and I never remember having them. They'll drop a few, but they ain't fit to eat. But it sure fits to tell me when to plant stuff that's good to eat. So I guess by default it still serves a purpose. Doesn't. All right. Get on by the well by these old improved pintos that we sunk in the dirt out there. We got a little rain coming first of the week, so maybe that'll get things rolling. I want to get everything in. That way we get a little good rain on it, right? That's what it takes. They can sit in that bag for a long time. You got to do a few things to make them start popping out. So we'll have them popping out next week. All right, going through here, seeing who's sounding off and where they're at. Yeah, there we go. There's Phelps. I've been wondering. I hadn't seen you on in a while. It's good to see you checking in, buddy. Let's see. Got a lot of folks watching. Nobody's commenting. That's all right. There's Mary Weir. Good evening. Thank you for that. Let's see. I see my buddy up Texarkana ways watching. Deborah, how are you from Michigan? Good to see you checking in. There's my precious friend Linda Grigsby. So some of the good that I share, that's her fault. If it's bad, she ain't taking the blame for it, though. That's my Sunday school teacher as a child. And good friends with her and her family to this day. Dear soul. Sure is. Good to see you on here, ma'am. Teresa, haven't planted tomatoes for quite some time. A problem is loads of squirrels and rabbits. So they love the fried green tomato. Yeah, that's right. Well, I don't know if I can help you with squirrels and all that, but we can show you how to grow it without dirt and without a whole bunch of rigmarole. But if y'all want that, you can tune in and we'll start that series next week on the subscriber feed. It's interesting and fun to see. All right, that's it for this evening. I think we about knocked it out. It's like it's going to be a dreary night. That's all right. At least the sun won't be baking everything, will it? Well, y'all stay positive. Make the week count. And I don't even care if you share this. It's always a good thing, right? I appreciate all of y'all and your support and all the kind words in the comments that I see. It means a lot. We're all in this together, right? So let's go out and be a light. Be shining even brighter, wouldn't it? All right. Good night, y'all.